Hello, everyone. My name is Mokshi Virk. I'm a founder director of a nonprofit organization known as Indo-Canadian Association. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me today. I would like to thank the organizers, IIU, for inviting me today as one of the speakers. Just to introduce myself, I'm a passionate community leader, international author, events organizer, realtor, speaker, radio and TV host, and a founder director of a nonprofit organization, Indo-Canadian Association. I was appointed at the prestigious position of a president of Wiki, which is Central Canada India Business Council, and also appointed as the president of World Book of Records for Toronto, Canada. I was appointed as a country director of Canada by IIU, which is International Internship University. Let me briefly introduce you to our IIU. So IIU is a leading virtual education system. So let me introduce IIU. IIU is a leading virtual education system and a global brand confederation, which is the most valuable and trusted worldwide. It's well reputed in delivering innovation programs. Globally, it is a trusted name for quality training programs and is committed to providing better and virtual education to all the young learners of the globe. In the short span of time, IIU has spread its wings in 195 countries and 6 continents under the strong leadership of its visionary founder, Mr. Piyush Pandit. A committed and inspiring social activist, a passionate educationist from last 2 decades, providing education to students from various social and cultural backgrounds. The introduction is good enough for IIU that it is spread all over the world globally. Let me start with our topic for today, which is the SDG goals. So I will be discussing in detail about few of the goals that I'm very passionate about, but there are 17 different SDG goals that has been set up, but that we definitely need to take action on. The global goals for sustainable development, time for action. That's the topic that I will be discussing with you. So to start with, I will briefly talk about the different goals that UN has given us so that we can work on them. So the global goals for sustainable development are, the goal number 1 is no poverty. Goal 2 is zero hunger. Goal 3 is good health and well-being. Goal number 4 is quality education. There are some of the goals that we as a nonprofit organization are working on. So quality education is one of them. I will discuss about that in detail when we just discuss about all the goals. So the goal 5th is gender equality. That is very close to my heart because I personally feel that gender equality is the call of the hour. Goal 6 is clean water and sanitation. Affordable and clean energy is goal number 7. Goal number 8 is decent work and economic growth. And goal 9 is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Goal 10 is reduced inequalities because it's so important to have equality among the genders. Goal 11 is sustainable cities and communities. Goal 12 is responsible consumption and production. Goal 13 is climate action. That's another important goal that we all need to work on. Climate action is immediately required. It definitely needs our attention. Goal 14 is life below water. Goal 15 is life on land. Goal 16 is peace, justice, and strong institution. And lastly, but not the least, is goal 17, which is partnership for the goals. So it is very important that we have partnerships, because without the partnership for goals, we won't be able to really work on it. So I will go in detail about all the SDG goals I just mentioned, and we will take it from there. So the Sustainable Development Goals or global goals are a collection of 17 interlinked objectives designed to serve as shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and planet now and into the future. So the Sustainable Development Goals, the Agenda 2020-2030 for Sustainable Development Goal, as adopted by United Nations.
Recording in progress.
I just wanted to uh, Amina, is the video okay? Just wanted to make sure that it's
No,
being
no,
recorded.
it's not nothing visible. No, no.
The video is okay?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay, so I can continue with that? Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure that. All right. So the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development adopted by UN states in 2015 provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and planet now and into the future. At its heart is the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, which are an urgent call for action by all the countries, developed and developing countries, in a global partnership. They recognize that ending poverty and other issues must go hand in hand with the strategies and improve the health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth. All the while tackling the climate change and working to preserve our oceans and forests. So the SDGs can only be realized with strong global partnerships and cooperations, including effective collaboration between local organizations, the businesses, and the individuals in our countries. So as we just discussed about the 17 different goals, I would say that a lot of countries have already started taking action. Numerous civil society leaders and organizations have also called for a super year of activism to accelerate the progress on the Sustainable Development Goals, urging the world leaders to reduce efforts to to redouble the efforts to reach the people farthest behind, support local action and innovation, strengthen the data systems and institutions, rebalance the relationship between people and nature, and unlock more financing for the sustainable development. At the core of 2020-2030 decade is the need for action to take global action against poverty, empower women and girls, and address the climate emergency. More people around the world are living better lives compared to just a decade ago. More people have access to better healthcare, decent work, and education than ever before. But inequalities and climate change are threatening us to undo the gains. Investment in inclusive and sustainable economies can unleash significant opportunities for shared prosperity, and a political, technological, and financial solutions are within reach. But much greater leadership and rapid, unprecedented changes are needed to align these layers of change with sustainable development. Sustainable development are being defined as development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainable development calls for concerted efforts towards building an inclusive, sustainable, and resilient future for people and planet. For sustainable development to be achieved, it is crucial to harmonize three core elements: economic growth, social inclusiveness, and environmental protection. These elements are interconnected and all are crucial for well-being of individuals and societies. Erading poverty is in all its forms and dimensions is an indispensable requirement for sustainable development. To this end, there must be promotion of sustainable, inclusive, and equitable economic growth, creating greater opportunities for all, reducing inequalities, raising basic standard of living, fostering equitable social development and inclusion, and promoting integrated and sustainable management of all natural resources and ecosystems. Let's talk about the climate change as it relates to SDG. Climate change is already impacting public health, food and water security, migration, peace and security. Climate change, left unchecked, will roll back the development gains we have made over the last decades. It will affect our future and make it impossible to go back. Investment in sustainable development will help address climate change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and building climate resilience. Conversely, action on climate change will drive sustainable development. Tackling climate change and fostering sustainable development are two mutually reinforcing sides of the same coin. Sustainable development cannot be achieved without climate action. Conversely, many of the SDGs are addressing the core drivers of climate change. With its core set of 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, the UN's blueprint for achieving a happier and healthier world by 2030, one can wonder how we can manifest, how we can do something ourselves to achieve these goals in our lives. So there were some of the things that were done around the world. The Be the Change initiative provides an opportunity for all of us to better walk the talk when it comes to SDG. This initiative guides and encourages us to live more sustainable at work and at home by changing our consumption patterns. Use an active transport such as cycling and buying local food. Everyone is welcome to participate. Every little step helps. Inform your family, your friends, and your community but about simple actions that they can take in their daily lives. It's easy to take action, and we're going to make it easier to make a bigger impact. UN has prepared a toolkit for the work, for schools, for universities to organize so that we can work towards these initiatives. be it a recycling initiative, bike to work, or sometimes affect and connect us with our communities. Something that affect our community like teaching children the importance of taking climate action. Here in Canada, our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was elected leader of Liberal Party in April 2013. He has been a very strong advocate for climate action and the nature protection, the empowerment of women and girls around the world, and ensuring an inclusive and resilient recovery from COVID-19 pandemic. He, his words in quote is to build a better future for people and the planet, we must all place the values of and continue to raise our voices and our ambition on path to 2013. That was Prime Minister Justin Trudeau from Canada. Gender equality is when people of all genders have equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities. Everyone is affected by gender inequality. Women, men, trans and gender diverse people, children, and families. It impacts people of all ages and backgrounds. What is gender equality? Gender equality means that men and women have equal power and equal opportunities for financial independence, education, and personal development. Here are some of the causes that causes the gender inequality. Uneven access to education, lack of employment equality, job segregation, lack of legal protection, lack of autonomy, poor medical care, lack of religious freedom, lack of political representation. These are some of the causes of gender inequality. So the challenges are women may make up only 5% of CEOs and 14% of executive committees of Fortune 500 companies. We can see that there's an inequality here. The gender pay gap, despite abundant legislation in industrialized countries to ensure equal pay, the gender pay gap still exists. So, what are the steps that we can take to achieve gender equality in our lifetime? Talk to women and girls, stop sexual harassment, make education gender sensitive, raise aspiration of girls and their parents, empower mothers, give proper value to women work, get women into power. 2020 was poised to be the milestone year in the movement to advance women's rights and gender equality here in Canada and around the world. Canada marked its 50th anniversary of Royal Commission on Status of Women, 25 years since the signing of Beijing Declaration on the Fourth World Conference of Women, and on the fifth anniversary of Sustainable Development Goals. Rather than an opportunity to celebrate the progress, 2020 brought us global COVID crisis, presenting a serious challenge to the decade of movements towards greater gender equality. Women and girls have been particularly impacted. Women have faced steep job losses, and many have bravely served on the front lines of their communities in crisis. They have shouldered the burden of unpaid care work at home. They have been slower to return to work than men and continue to face challenges that threaten the hard won game of women in Canada and around the world. Women are not only the hardest hit by the pandemic, they are also the backbone of recovery in the communities. Putting women and girls at the center of economies will fundamentally drive better and more sustainable development outcomes for all and support a more rapid recovery. There has been progress over the last decades. More girls are going back to school, fewer girls are forced into early marriages, more women are serving in parliament and positions of leadership, and laws are being reformed to advance gender equality. So we are seeing some changes. So how we can promote gender equality in our lives, in our daily lives? We should share the household chores and childcare equally, watch for signs of domestic violence, support mothers and parents, reject racist attitudes, help women gain power, listen and reflect, hire diversity, pay and demand the same salary for equal work. So, what will be the benefit of gender equality? Gender equality prevents violence against women and girls. Gender inequality is a root cause of violence against women. Gender equality is good for the economy. Gender equality is a human right. Gender equality makes our communities safer and healthier. Gender equality is achieved when women, men, girls, and boys have equal rights, conditions, and opportunities, and the power to shape their own lives and contribute to the development of society. It's a matter of equitable distribution of power, influence, and resources in our society. So, there are a few ways that we can fight gender inequality. Give girls the access to education. Give women platform to be in power and achieve economic success. End violence and sexual assault against women. Assure girls and women have access to health facilities. End child marriage. That's how we can promote equality. I'm sharing few tips to help promote equality and diversity in your organization. Identify and prevent unconscious bias. We all have unconscious biases. Put equality in policies in place. Mind your language. Use objective criteria. Be, be proactive. Get advice if needed. Watch out for indirect discrimination. Personally, I'm a strong believer of women empowerment, and we have worked and collaborated with several community organizations in Canada and in India. I've always said that it's hard being a woman, all the ups and downs that we go through in our daily life, and we are multiple hats. We need a whole lot of confidence, power, and courage to go out in the world and to take care of everyone around us. And most importantly, we still need to try to find time and space in our mind to take care of ourselves. So I always said that if you can help a woman in any way possible, make their lives a little easier, even in a simple way, please do that. Our organization, Indo-Canadian Association, a non-profit organization, was started with the purpose of, with the mission of helping women, youth, and newcomers to Canada. Our organization is about look at what we can all do together to inspire and empower each other. It's like combination of all the stories and ideas of our board members and our participants. We have been planning events, workshops, seminars so that everybody can learn and benefit from it. So there are some of the goals that help us transform our world. The Sustainable Development Goals are a call for action by all countries, poor, rich, and middle income, to promote prosperity while protecting the planet. They recognize that ending poverty must go hand in hand with the strategies that build economic growth and address a large range. It's important to address the range of social needs, including education, health, social protection, and job opportunities, while taking care of climate change and environmental protection. More important than ever, the goals provide a critical framework for COVID-19 recovery. As we all know, we've gone through a worst during the COVID-19 pandemic. Quality education is another important aspect. Education enables upward social economic mobility and is key to the take to take care of the poverty. Over the past decade, major progress was made towards increasing access to education, and school enrollment levels were high, particularly for the girls. Nevertheless, about 260 million children were still out of school in 2018. Nearly one-fifth of the global population is that age group, and more than half of our children and adolescents worldwide are not meeting minimum proficiency standards in reading and in mathematics. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic spread across the globe. A majority of countries announced the temporary closure of schools, impacting more than 91% of students worldwide. By 2020, close to 1.6 billion children and youth were out of school, and nearly 360 million children who rely on school especially for meals, need to look for other sources for daily nutrition. Never before have so many children been out of school at the same time, disrupting their learning and disturbing their lives, especially the most vulnerable and marginalized. The global pandemic has far reaching consequences that may jeopardize hard won gains made in improving globalization. To protect the well being of children and ensure they have access to continued learning, UN SDGs have launched a partnership among the education, multi-sector partnership, and the UN family. Together, they can all help country tackle the issues and the gaps that we have and facilitate inclusive learning opportunities for children and youth during the period of sudden and unprecedented education disruption. So by 2030, the goal is to ensure that all the girls and boys complete free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary education, leading to relevant and goal effective learning outcomes. By 2030, we want to ensure that all girls and boys have access to quality early childhood development, care, and pre primary education so that they are ready for primary education. The goal is by 2030 ensure equal access for women and men to affordable and quality technical, vocational, and tertiary education, including university. The goal by 2030 is to substantially increase the number of youth and adults who have relevant skills, including technical and vocational skills for employment, decent jobs, and entrepreneurship. The goal by 2030 is to eliminate gender disparities in education and equal access to all level of education and vocational training for vulnerable, including persons with disabilities, indigenous people, and children in vulnerable situations. The goal by 2030 is to ensure that all youth and substantial proportion of adults, both men and women, achieve literacy and numeracy. The goal by 2030 is to ensure that all the learner acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyle, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and non-violence, global citizenship, and appreciation of culture diversity and the culture contribution to the sustainable development. To build and upgrade education facilities that are child, disability, and gender sensitive, and provide safe, non-violent, inclusive, and effective learning environments for all. By 2030, substantially expand globally the number of scholarships available to developing countries, in particular states of African countries, vocational training, and information and communication in technology, technical, engineering, and scientific programs in development countries and other developing countries. By 2030, substantially increase the supply of qualified teachers, including through international cooperation for teachers and learning in developing countries, especially for least developed countries and small island development state. These are some of the efforts that are being planned for 2030. It is so important that we talk about these worldwide because it is so important that each and everyone takes action. It is so important that men and women have equal rights around the world. So this is my take on this, and I would say that it is very important that all these SDG goals, like almost 17 SDG goals that has been planned by the UN, take the priority and we all work toward that. Our non-profit organization in Canada, we have been collaborating around the world so that we can talk about and work together on this effort. I would like to talk about the women empowerment that we have been working on in Canada. So, because we know that a lot of people migrate to Canada, and it becomes very challenging for somebody who is new to Canada to get started. So as a non-profit organization, we are trying to build up and support our women, especially who have young, small children. When they are home, they are looking to sustain and help their families. Because when you move to a new country, it becomes very challenging to look after the children and work and contribute towards the family income. So, as a non-profit organization, we have been working hard to help women start our own businesses, work as entrepreneurs. For that, we have been doing a lot of work on women empowerment work. I would definitely like to touch upon climate change and women empowerment as our efforts that we have been working on. So as I mentioned, that climate change is something which is another important SDG goal. This climate change urges us to take action to combat prior climate change and its impacts. Climate change is affecting every country on every continent. It is disrupting national economies and affecting lives, costing people, communities, and countries dearly today and even more in tomorrow. So, how do we contribute towards this? So, companies can contribute to this SDG by decarbonizing their operations and supply chains through continuously improving energy efficiency, reducing the carbon footprint of their products and services and processes, and even setting ambitious emission reduction targets in line with climate science. So what we can do is we can do something to help by urging our government to take bold, ambitious climate action now. Top climate scientists issued a red code for humanity. They call it code red for humanity. And what they are saying that it's a warning that this is our last chance to avoid the most dangerous impacts of climate chaos. Even in Canada, climate targets are critically insufficient, so we have to do our fair share on the global scale. The climate crisis won't wait. Use energy wisely and save money. That's another thing that we can do. We can use energy wisely. Canada is the top per capita energy consumer in the world. By becoming more energy efficient, we not only pollute less but save money too. Consider making some or all of these small changes together, they can really add up. A house with a furnace is like a car that idles all day. Swap your furnace for a heat pump, which works by extracting heat from one location and transferring it to another. Install a programmable thermostat. Swap your gas stove for an electric stove, which will also lower indoor air pollution. Unplug computers, TVs, and other electronics when you are not using them. Very basic things. Use maybe wash clothes in a cold weather. Hang your clothes when you come and use the dryer balls when you can't. So these are some effective ways where we can save some energy. Look for Energy Star label when buying new appliances. Winterize your home. It can help prevent from heat from escaping and trying to keep it cool in summer without any requirement of air conditioner. Change to energy efficient light bulbs. Eat for a climate stable planet. The decisions we make about food can have a profound effect on the environment. Some of the simple ways you can make your diet more climate friendly: eat more meat free meals, buy organic and local whenever possible, don't waste food, grow your own, grow your own food, start a climate conversation. Solving climate change requires us all to work together. We can't do without finding common ground with those who may not have shared our perspective. Some people often trust peers, family members, and loved ones more than they trust experts, scientists, and environmental organizations. So you can talk to people about climate change in a way we can't. You're more likely to open people's minds. Green your commute. In Canada, transportation accounts for 24% of climate polluting emissions, and may be true in around the world. There are many ways to reduce transportation emissions, and it will also make us healthier, happier, and save a few bucks too. Whenever and wherever you can, do your part. Take public transit, ride a bike, advocate for bike lanes in your community, car share. If you have a large, inefficient vehicle, retire it and switch to an electric or plug-in hybrid vehicle. And that's the change we have seeing in our communities. People are moving towards electric cars, hybrid cars. We should support this. Get politically active and vote. Although it's important to take action to reduce our individual carbon footprints, we also need to focus on changing the larger system. That's where we have greatest opportunity to reduce emissions. Vote for leaders at all levels of government who take climate change seriously. They should commit to setting a science-based target to reduce harmful carbon emissions, implementing clear plans to reach those targets, adapting to climate change, and shifting to a clean energy economy. So, what are the benefits of action on climate change? The main benefit that we see is new jobs and green jobs, economic growth, cleaner air, and more efficient public transport systems in cities. New technologies such as electric or plug-in hybrid cars, energy efficient homes or offices with intelligent heating and cooling systems. To summarize this, I would say that doing nothing on climate action will end up costing us a lot more Let's take action now that will lead to more jobs, greater prosperity, and better lives for all of us while reducing greenhouse gas emissions and building climate resilience. This is so important that we all take action in this regard. This was my take on climate change. So I feel that it is very, very important that we all take action, whether whatever SDGs are close to our heart. For me, as I mentioned, for me, it's gender equality. And besides gender equality, I always feel that climate change is something which is really affecting us. And we definitely need to take more action at the earliest because otherwise it's going to affect all of us. I have traveled around the world and I have seen one thing, and it is so beautiful that other in other cultures we see that women have been doing all the chores. So it's very important that we as women all get together and support each other. We should share our ideas, we should share the problems, we should find some solutions and help and learn from each other. As we all know, COVID-19 pandemic was the serious health crisis the world has ever faced. It has revealed fundamental gaps in our society and how it impacts, especially those who are marginalized, vulnerable, or struggling. So it is very important that we all work together. We should share inspirational stories and ideas within our community. Let's build our community with love and gratitude. We can learn so much from each other. As we discussed that COVID-19 has affected around the world, a lot of people, especially women, have lost so many jobs. They have been serving on front lines, helping people in crisis. So it is important that we support women because they are the backbone of the recovery in the communities. So when we put women and girls at the forefront of our communities, it will help us drive better and sustainable development, which will help us in speedy recovery. There has been progress which has been done, but we still need to do more. And we need to understand that gender equality is not a female issue. It's a social and economic imperative. It is vital that we include men in this equation and welcome them to participate in all this because it is very, very important that we all come together and work towards it. So, this is my take on the SDG goals today. I believe that the collection of 17 interlinked objectives are designed to serve as a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people. And the planet needs it now and into the future. So we need to work together and work towards this 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which was adopted by United Nations. It provides a blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and planet. Under these SDG goals, it's a request, it's an urgent call for action by all countries, developed or developing. It's a global partnership. The purpose is to end poverty and other issues, other deprivations. They must go hand in hand with the strategies and improve the health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth. all while tackling the climate change and working to preserve our oceans and forests. It is so important. The SDG can only be realized with strong global partnerships and cooperations, including effective collaboration between local organizations, businesses, and individuals in our own cities. So to conclude, I would say that it is very, very important that we all get involved. It's not all, it cannot not be taken care only at the government level. We need to have all the people involved so that we can actually work towards it. So to conclude, I would say that we all need to understand that it's not a one person issue. It's the social and economic imperative. It is vital that we include everyone so that everybody participates in this. With this, I would like to thank IIU for having me on this topic today so that we can all work together towards it. Armenia, thank you so much for having me today to discuss about my perspective, my viewpoint on SDG. And definitely it's time for action. We all need to work together to take action.